Live, they say.
Live from Saturday. Wait, what did they
Sun-
say?
sun-
Live from New York City. It's Saturday night.
Sour Source Sunday Live. Oh, I didn't update the titles again. Good Lord, I'm slipping, dude.
Yeah. God, I swear this makes me look so fat.
I'm telling you, it's the aperture of the.
It's wide. It's wide. It makes us wide.
Yeah. Well, it's such a tiny little lens hole.
Yeah. This is just for everyone out there. This is not how I look in person. I'm actually very trim.
I can assure you the camera adds 40 pounds.
And there's like 3 or 4 cameras on me at the moment, so
It's exponential camera work.
there's a bunch of different cameras and each one adds 10 pounds.
Click.
It's funny though, because it makes me look wide in the face, but it also makes my arms look really skinny. So it's just like, it just makes me into a schlub.
Actually, when I put the shirt on earlier today, I was like, either I've gained 50 pounds or the shirt shrunk in the wash, and I'm pretty sure it was the second one.
It has to be. It's the only logical
because I'm not using that Tide high efficiency. Gotta go generic. Let's see here. What else? I had several things I wanted to talk about. We'll start with that. That's enough.
Okay.
So,
what did you write? What's the title?
You can see
Examining
it right there.
Fictional Police.
So we can open this.
Okay.
So okay.
Well, yeah.
Let me get this bad boy
recording
on here
the actual
real quick.
podcast.
Yeah. This will be fun. I think this will be fun.
Okay.
Can you pull open that email tab, my good sir?
I can.
And
do
I'm
that.
going to start the audio recording. It'll be the ranker list right there. Down to. Right there. Open
right there. Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Sunday Sour stream. So, I wanted to talk.
We haven't nailed the name for it yet. Welcome to
a new Sunday six-pack politics.
Okay, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I thought of that name the other day. I thought it'd be pretty cool. It'll be Sour Source
I don't
presents
mind
six-pack
it,
politics.
Yeah. And then we can name other shows as they come.
Because if you remember at the beginning, we had talked about using the name as the overarching brand as we produce content.
Yeah, sort of like a parent company.
Yeah.
And then everything else will kind of be under. I've been thinking about that because I was also thinking about starting a D&D podcast.
Yeah.
And then doing the movie podcast and stuff, and then we would have all of these sort of under an umbrella.
I have I've been wanting to do a MMA/football podcast, and I have some exciting news on that.
Okay.
Not that I'm going to start it, but one of the focuses I had was I wanted to kind of do analysis and kind of show people how to maybe win some money on like DraftKings.
Oh, okay.
I finally won money on DraftKings.
Oh, dude, nice.
And UFC 2, whatever the last one was. I bet $20 and I won 30 back.
Dude, nice.
It was solid picks. I was excited.
So like 30 in addition to getting your 20 back, so like 50.
No, I won 30 total. So
realistically, you came up
my
like
net
15.
win was $10.
Oh,
but
$10.
hey, listen, that's 10 McChickens.
That's 10 extra bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's $10 I didn't have.
Yeah.
Now let's not talk about the 40 cards that I've lost all my money on.
Should people really be taking your advice then?
Yes, I'm getting better. That's what I'm saying. I'm improving.
Mm-hmm.
As they say in the mixed martial arts world, there's levels to this, and I'm on a whole nother level than I was.
Okay.
2 months
Yeah, you're
ago.
progressing.
It's
progressing.
Right. That's where I got my black belt in losing money.
Any growth is growth, baby.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what direction it is. It's always growth. Okay, so this is one I wanted to talk about this a couple times in a row because there was a tweet that came out, and it was a viral tweet. And it said something along the lines of, in the process of radicalizing my dad, I think is what it said. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and he wanted to know, is the goth girl from NCIS part of ACAB?
Yeah.
Is she a bastard? Have you seen that?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so I thought it would be fun to...
Was that a tweet? Because I remember seeing that, yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to go through some fictional cops just like that and see, would they qualify? Would they be fired, or would they be bad cops in the real world?
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah. Well, let's do it.
All right, check this out. So the first one was kind of a joke. There's a pre-conversation to the podcast, but the world's greatest detective, would Batman be considered a bastard?
So Batman has been a contentious figure among leftist circles. A lot of people consider him to be a fascist, and it really just depends on who's writing it. But if you like give an oversimplistic view of Batman, like those like explain comics badly kind of things, where it's like you have this billionaire who goes around beating up mentally people with mental illness, where he has the funds to like actually do some real community work, and instead chooses to spend it all on like weaponry so that he could go beat them up.
He's like what Elon Musk could be. Like when he starts, instead of building flamethrowers, he starts building like less than lethal weapons.
Like those bolos.
Yeah, bolo launchers. You seen that guy? Real quick, sorry, say it. Sure. Tangent. Let's see, new record, 3 minutes and 54 seconds, and we're already on a tangent. Did you see that new one where the guy made a mask launcher for people who aren't wearing masks?
I did see that. That's pretty sweet.
They should arm the retail workers with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, Batman, he's a billionaire. He's a bastard.
Yep.
Bastard.
Yeah, already.
He's out.
Yeah. Does he invest in social programs? No.
He does. I think in response to criticisms of that, they've gone into detail to explain that he actually does set up like his Wayne Foundation that's supposed to like help underprivileged and try to combat crime that way. Right. But in the world of Batman, that doesn't work.
His whole shtick is that like he like treads the line, right, where the police can't go, like helps them get like
Mm-hmm. And it's you're dealing. That's the thing. I don't want to like overanalyze it too much, because if it were just like the story of this billionaire who just like sets up after school programs and like crime in Gotham drops, it's like, well, that's not a interesting story. So they have to make it so that his rogues gallery is like irredeemable,
right?
Except for Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
because it's like, Batman, you can like set aside some money to cure his wife.
Yeah, you could end this problem at the source. Like,
yeah, like he's just trying to steal money so he could save his dying wife, man.
On a side note, the new trailer for the Batman movie has come out. The first teaser, fantastic, and it looks like to me, I know you haven't seen it yet, but it looks like to me they're going in the direction of trying to like go back to like detective Batman, instead of like, I don't know how to describe, like cartoony Batman. You know what I mean?
Or like Ben Affleck Arkham Asylum Batman.
Yeah.
Just big hulking brute that just beats the crap out of people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's still beating people up, but they show one scene in there where he does beat up a dude. Yeah, and it reminds me of like Netflix's Daredevil. Like it's just raw.
I like that. I like sort of like martial art Batman who, is his superpower is his intelligence. He's sort of like the strategist of the Justice League, because he's not really on any of their levels. Right. Like straight, like Batman is lame. Like he's just a dude. Like he could get shot and die.
There was a
but his goal, or his what he brings to the table is his intelligence. So I like when they lean into that,
one of the funniest little bits, there was a Batman cartoon that came out, I think early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, like pre 2010s, like 2005 or so.
Yeah.
But Batman the Brave and the Bold, right?
Yeah.
And there's a funny episode in there because it's more comedic. Like they do more like slapstick, and like he's more sarcastic and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they do a bit in there where he has to beat up some heroes that are brainwashed or something like that. And then one of the heroes is like, "Oh, Batman, how did you know that was my weakness?" And he's like, "Oh, I have files on all of the Justice League, so I know what to do in the event of."
Yeah, that's been covered. He has contingency plans for everybody. There's a College Humor video called "The Dark Knight Meets Superman," where like it's based on like the Dark Knight movie. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know who to save, Harvey Dent or Rachel." And like Superman comes in and he's like, "What's the problem, guys?" He's like, "Oh, the Joker. He's got Harvey Dent and Rachel, and they're in warehouses." He's like, "Oh, is that it?" It's like, yeah, but they're like really far away. And he's like, oh, okay. And then they're being held by the Joker. What does he do? Is he not like heat rays or something? Because I have that and it's pretty sweet. It's like, no, he carries a knife, sometimes several. And then Superman just like saves the day in like an instant. And then like the end credits, it's just like Superman solved all crime in Gotham. And it says like Gotham, safest city in the country.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, Batman's bastard.
You
Long and short of it.
Heard it here first, folks.
Rachel. That's my Batman impression.
Let her go, Joker.
Dent knew the risks. I'm going after Rachel.
Poor choice of words. All right. So
you guys better watch out for the jokester.
But Batman.
That's your Mark Hamill?
That's my Mark Hamill, yeah.
Spot on. Okay. Batman bastard.
Okay, Batman, rated bastard. If we had good editing, put a graphic up right now. Okay. So I was trying to come up with different ones, and then I resorted to looking up a fictional list. So one I thought would be fun. Have you seen the Netflix Punisher series?
No.
Okay, then I'm going to skip the second one. Okay, how about Ice-T's character in Law & Order Special Victims Unit?
I mean, the fact that that he works in the Special Victims Unit, because I think you can find like even like the most like ardent ACAB people who still acknowledge that sort of like murder cops need to exist, you know, like murder detectives. So I mean,
this is why
the fictional portrayals of police officers are always going to be sort of like idealized,
right?
In which like they always do the right thing, kind of.
They are the version of the country we thought we were growing up with.
It's all propaganda.
Yeah. This is why I thought it would be really fun to go through this, to like really kind of like break it down, like, okay, what make, you know, just for what you said, like how some even the most hardened ACABs will be like, yeah, we definitely need these guys.
We still need like
and that's kind
of
the thing about like defund the police, right? That I keep trying to get
is
people
to
to
specialize
understand.
them.
Yeah, is like people don't understand that because it's so easy to write it off, and I don't know how much of it is just branding that. Because we decided maybe, I don't know, just this little bite-sized bit of information, you know, defund the police. Mm-hmm. But then that's also like the signal flare too. Like when somebody's like, we don't need to do that. We need reform, that like tells me like, oh, you're not actually informed.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the red flag. It's like, okay, we're not going to have a real discussion here.
I'm trying to think of like if they could have made maybe a better slogan than defund the police, but it's like, no matter what they said, it was going to get twisted into like they want anarchy in the streets.
It's true.
Which also like I don't like the characterization of anarchy in mainstream media, where they think it's a legitimate political ideology, but they think it's like Mad Max shit. But
we're gonna play war.
But yeah, like you could have said, you could have phrased it anyway, and they would have twisted it into some sort of like they.
Yeah, well, they
want murderers to just walk away scot-free.
That's what kind of what we talked about in the last podcast too. Just like this opposition for pure opposition's sake, it doesn't really mean anything.
No, it's to obfuscate every issue.
Let's see here. Go ahead and click on that link for me, my good sir.
All right.
We'll see how this works. This is a
Dirty Harry better not be in the list.
He's number 1, sir.
You get out of here.
Number 1 in the most popular fictional police officers of all time, Harry Callahan, Dirty Harry.
No, just no. Dirty Harry is, and Jack Saint actually, he's a YouTuber who does like film analysis from like a leftist perspective. Has a very good video on Dirty Harry specifically. In his propaganda series, how Dirty Harry kind of sets the template for this sort of like loose cannon like cop who like
plays by his own rules.
You know, yeah, like the one that's always like satirized. He's a loose cannon cop who doesn't play by the rules. And that's Harry Callahan. It's
2 weeks away from retirement. He is too old for this.
Yeah, it's one of the most egregious examples of propaganda because throughout the course of the series, you have Dirty Harry who just completely ignores people's rights, like no, absolutely, to the point that like it's called out by like his chief of police and like his coworkers and stuff. They call him out on the fact that like he doesn't read like his Miranda rights, and he shoots to kill all the time, and but he's always validated. The moral of these movies is always that like there's just too much red tape around these cops. You need a guy like Dirty Harry who's willing to break the rules, because when in actuality these rules are placed to curtail police brutality. But the movies show that it's actually a good thing when cops break these rules. Like if they made a modern day Dirty Harry, he would like turn off his body cam and like murder somebody.
He would park his patrol. He would put his hood up on his patrol car to block the dash cam. And, like this is a real life conversation I remember having years ago, because I do believe like in your own personal rights, like so your right to due process, cops shouldn't violate your constitutional rights, blah blah blah. And I remember talking to a guy one time, and he kind of said that same thing, and he's like, well, if these cops, they could just like let the leash loose a little bit, they could solve so much more crime. And it's like
I mean, Trump actually gave a similar sentiment at one of his rallies. I don't know if you remember. This was, I think, during when he was on the campaign trail before he was actually even president. He was talking about like, you watch these videos where they get the bad guys, and you see them. They cradle their heads as they put them into the cars. They don't slam their heads on the cars like they used to. I always think they should be a little bit rougher with these guys. Like he was literally saying that like, yeah, we should abuse like criminals when we have innocent until proven guilty, so they're not actually even criminals yet. But he's thinking that cops should have the right to like brutalize them. And it's like, even if they were criminals, that's not the cop's job to determine that shit, like they're not the judge, jury, and executioner. So it's like, yeah, Dirty Harry sucks. Dirty Harry's absolutely a bastard. His name is Dirty Harry. He's a dirty cop. That's the whole point.
I have nothing to add to that. All right, going down the list. Number 2, John McClane, Die Hard series.
Fucking love Die Hard.
So
it's hard to.
So this is an interesting one. So we don't actually never hardly see him in his line of duty. He's always operating outside of like his scope.
He's always off duty.
Like when in the first movie, obviously he's in a completely different city. And he's, like, come out to the coast, get together, have a few laughs.
He's, he's off duty when he's actually doing all the things that he's doing. A funny part about the first one is, you got Carl Winslow from Family Matters, where his whole little like character arc is that like he shot a kid, like an unarmed kid, and they tried to like they make it like sympathetic, like they have like the music swelling and stuff. As he's like John, I killed a kid. And then it's like the lesson is that like you need to get your confidence back so you can go out there and shoot people again.
Have you seen the movie The Other Guys, right? Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. You're the guy that shot A-Rod. And then they show the clip, and he's just like, hey, back off, man. Don't come any closer. And he shoots him in the leg from like far away. Second movie, same thing. He's not on duty. He's just trying to defend his
the second one is the one I've seen the least, because I remember not liking it very much.
It's not the greatest. Third one's great. Third one's good.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion. I liked the fourth one too, just for a mindless action movie.
Is that the one with Kevin Smith? Like he plays the hacker, and then like Justin Long is in it too.
Justin Long is in it.
Okay, yeah, that's the one.
Is it Kevin Smith in there?
Kevin Smith is the hacker.
Wow.
Yeah.
The fire sale.
John McClane. You know what? I don't know. There's not enough evidence to make a ruling. We never actually see him being a cop.
Inconclusive.
Inconclusive on John McClane.
I don't think he's on duty in the third one either, is he?
No.
He's also on vacation. I think. It's also been a few years since I've seen number 3. There's a punk rock song by a band called Guys Night called Die Hard, where they recap all the Die Hard movies. It's actually pretty good. I like it a lot.
Okay. I haven't heard it now.
Let's see here. Oh, I don't know that guy because I'm not too familiar.
Lenny Briscoe?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the original
Law and Order, I feel like doesn't. It's going to be inconclusive on all of them.
Yeah.
Because we only ever see like the detective part of it, and we only ever see them taking down like rapists and pedophiles and stuff,
Right,
which is something that is not really contended with that.
Correct.
Like, yeah, we need to put a stop to rapists. So I feel like Law and Order kind of gets a pass.
Yeah, SA. The number 5. Number 4 is Martin Riggs, Lethal Weapon.
Bad.
Yeah.
Martin Riggs is bad, man.
Often, I think for the same, almost some of the same reasons. Dirty Harry would be just
yeah.
loose
But the problem with these movies is that they are validated in their loose cannonness.
Yeah.
But yeah, Martin Riggs is bad.
They're blocked by the system.
Yeah. What do you feel about the Lethal Weapon franchise?
Honestly, I've only seen each one of them like maybe once or twice in my life, so it's hard for me to even like make a true assessment.
There's a lot of parallels between the first Lethal Weapon and the first Die Hard.
Right.
Well, I guess and just that they're both Christmas
I'm
movies.
very familiar with Lethal Weapon 5.
The one with Jet Li?
No, it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh,
They
yeah.
made
Where
a-
Max in blackface.
Here's a side question. Do you think comedy sometimes gets a pass? Should get a pass on certain social issues like?
Yeah. Comedy is a strange subject just because it's so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in the case of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's not doing blackface like straight.
Right.
Like it's not doing it unironically like, hey, we're making fun of black.
Right.
It's doing it in that
He's trying to
these
become the
are
character.
bad guys,
Yeah.
like so I guess like shock humor sort of gets a little bit of a pass for it, sort of like Anthony Jeselnik or like Daniel Tosh.
Oh yeah.
How their whole like on stage personas are that they're shitty people saying like shitty and offensive things, and it wouldn't be funny if we weren't operating on the pretense that what they're saying is bad, like if somebody was just like, hey, like I'm gonna go rape people, it's like that's not a joke and that's not funny. Like that's just a thing that you said.
That's an awful statement that you just said.
Yeah, you're just kind of a monster. But when you have like a setup and a punchline, and the punchline happens to be rape, but the joke is that it is awful.
Yeah.
Like I think that is different than like advocating for it.
Yeah. There's
There's
an ability to like differentiate
so
the idea between the two.
Yeah. Things just have to be constructed in a funny way, which I know is subjective, but it's like, even like Louis C.K. and like Ron White have tackled like really taboo subjects, like even like pedophilia jokes that have made me laugh.
Yeah.
Like Ron White has a good one about like Michael Jackson, where like when they searched his house, they found like a life-sized doll of a boy in like a Boy Scout uniform.
Damn.
And he was like, I mean, that could be completely innocent.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to say anything about it. But like, if the police searched my house and they found like a life-sized doll of a woman, everybody would assume that I was fucking it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's
very true.
It's kind of a funny like joke about like a very taboo subject.
Yeah. See, that's kind of how I've always been. I say I guess, it is subjective, like you said. I guess it does come down to the person. And because, like, it's pretty easy, I think, to really tell. It's like, oh, man, this dude is just being racist. Like, there's no artistic value to this.
Yeah,
like,
if you're just like, hey, isn't it funny how, like, insert marginalized group is always like, duh.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's not very funny.
All right, scroll down on this bad boy. Let's see who else is on this list here, because I've only briefly sifted through it.
RoboCop.
Number 6, RoboCop.
That's a tough one.
Can robots be bastards?
Because Murphy is like ultimately a victim of the movie, of being sort of this avatar for a police state, because it's a cautionary tale about police states.
Right.
So he's not supposed to be a good guy. But he's also, I guess, didn't ask to be turned into this like, just like cold-blooded murderous cop.
I would also put. I don't know if he'll be on this list, but RoboCop. I mean, I think it came out the same year, but like Judge Dredd.
Oh, Judge Dredd is also a commentary on like police statism.
Right.
So,
because like RoboCop is in the same vein, right? Where he's like, "You're committing a crime." Bam.
Yeah, and Judge Dredd too is, and I think people have like misinterpreted the points of those properties.
Right.
Like Judge Dredd is a bad guy. Like that's the point. That like you're not supposed to give these like street level cops like complete authority to like be judges, judge, jury, and executioner. Like that's his whole shtick. So yeah, Judge Dredd is a bastard, and I think that's the point of his character. So,
all right.
Do you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
I love Brooklyn
Jake
Nine-Nine.
Peralta's on here.
So number 7, Jake Peralta. This is a tough one because I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It seems that in the way they portray Jake Peralta specifically, I think in real life he would be a policeman that would probably be fired because he doesn't really, to me, and maybe I'm just like sympathetic because I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. No, but he doesn't really seem to break policy. Like he always follows the rules and like he tries to do actual detective work. And
I've only watched like a few episodes of the first season. Jake Peralta specifically kind of annoyed me, so I didn't really get too involved in the series. I have read critiques that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is like a pretty egregious form of propaganda because it shows like police as like these lovable goofballs.
Yeah, there's
and like
that.
really portrays them in a good light.
They do like an arc. I'm sorry, I'm gonna throw this out. They do an arc later on in the seasons where they actually tackle like police corruption a lot.
Okay.
And he's the one that solves the case and like brings attention to the fact that certain police officers are dirty.
You know, but that's also not necessarily how reality plays out, though. You know, and I also, just based on what I've seen, Jake Peralta would be fired just for his like conduct, just for the way that
his non-serious conduct.
Yeah, just for the way that he behaves. And like I'm not super familiar with the property, and I'm not super familiar with like what police are allowed to do. But certainly the way that he behaves does not seem like becoming of an officer. Like I don't think he would have lasted very long.
It's a good one though. If I were you, I'd give it a run through just because it is fun.
Okay,
it is a fun
he
one.
Bothers me.
That's fair.
I
will tell you this:
he's too over annoying,
how
and then
many-
I find out that he gets with that super fine cop later.
Yeah.
And it's like she's so much better than him.
How many episodes have you seen of this show?
Maybe like 10.
Okay. I will say that it does take several episodes to really get a character going on. Because like I watched the first 2 or 3 like on Hulu because I'd never seen it before a couple years ago. And at first I was kind of like this. I mean, it's okay. I was let down. But then like I came back and revisited it, especially the pilot. The pilot is not great.
Yeah.
But I came back and revisited it and I loved it. So
I like Terry Crews.
I do like Terry
and
Crews. They do a good episode on
not personally. Terry Crews has been on a weird streak lately
with Terry Crews. I mean, I get where he's coming from and what he's trying to do, but like I just don't know if it's the right time for him to be
he's being real like I don't know, trying to appease to Whitey.
Yeah.
You know. But I like his character, and I like the police. I like the police chief. I don't like the black-haired guy with like the kind of squish nose. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know his name.
Boyle?
Yeah, I don't like him very much. I don't like Peralta very much. The 2 lady cops are cool.
I like Rosa a lot.
Yeah, I liked her. But yeah, I didn't like at least like half the cast, so I was like, this show's not for me.
That's fair. I enjoyed it a lot for what it was. I watched it a lot. Let's see.
James Gordon, of course, he's a good guy.
All right.
He's the only not corrupt cop in the Gotham Police Department.
I was actually going to bring him up after I started with Batman, and then we just started going down the list. Yeah, I mean, he does. I mean, aside from hiring the Batman, which could be his most, I guess, agree. He doesn't really hire him, but demanding his help.
At least Batman has like a no-kill policy, which the police clearly do not have. Which,
yeah.
So you're gonna do less damage with the Batman.
Yeah.
So James Gordon, get the stamp of approval.
Oh, we skipped a couple there, I think. Oh no, we didn't. Don't know who that is.
NCIS, Magnum PI. Didn't watch.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that. Sheriff Roscoe, Dukes of Hazzard.
He's the villain, right?
Yeah,
of that show.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that's always like trying to go after the Duke boys.
Yeah. Are they good?
Seem
an eensy bit racist.
From Alabama good?
Seem an eensy bit racist.
Yeah.
Murtaugh.
Yeah, Roger Murtaugh. With the weapon.
Nicholas Angel from Hot Fuzz. Okay. He's good.
He's a British police officer.
They're different. He's good though, right? What did
he get reassigned for? What was the reasoning?
Did he get reassigned for police brutality? I don't think so. It's been a while.
I'm gonna look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure that the reason, like, he got reassigned for something. I just don't remember why. Because that's why he goes out to the little town. With the other guy. What's his name?
Yeah, he got reassigned for something.
Let me see here. His jealous colleagues arranged for him to be reassigned.
Okay, so he got reassigned for being too good.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so he's all right.
All right, he gets a pass.
He gets a pass. Danny Regan from Blue Bloods. My grandpa loves Blue Bloods.
I don't even know what that is.
I've caught a few episodes of it. It's got Tom Selleck in it. He's like the dad, and the whole family is like police officers. Okay. So he's like an old school police officer, and he's like the police chief, and then like all of his sons and his daughter might be an attorney. I think I've seen a few episodes of it. Danny Regan's the bad one though.
Oh, interesting.
He's his younger brother is the like sympathetic cop who like tries to be real PC and stuff. Danny Regan is the one who's like rides the line of being like brutality.
Good. Right on the second.
Caught it right under the wire. You want to pass me a Angry Orchard?
Oh, are you angry enough?
I'm angry.
These are fucking good.
Yeah, and if it, I don't think so.
It's much better from a tap. I will say that.
Okay, but if it turns out that I am actually like intolerant to beer, like I might have to start drinking ciders from now on.
I was gonna say that's actually why I like it. See, I'm not a big fan of like Red's apple ale or like other like apple flavored ale. Actually, for that purpose, for following purposes, I'm not a fan of like anything that's like brewed into beer. I mean the Bud Light oranges from last week were pretty solid. So are the lemonades, but citrus
those wrecked me though. Those destroyed my gut.
The citrus is the only flavor you can brew into beer. So like I don't like strawberry ale, and I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
But these are awesome.
I usually drink pretty simple beers,
and these are naturally gluten free. You might have a gluten intolerance.
I don't eat bread. That was more from like a health conscious position where like I didn't want to eat
a lot of pasta.
I don't.
Well,
so
I'm at a loss.
Well, yeah, no. I mean that might be. I might actually have a gluten intolerance. I mean, I don't eat those things because they have gluten in them. I was just trying to cut carbs a little bit.
Fair.
So I don't eat like bread or pasta. So maybe I do have a gluten intolerance. I just don't know it.
Yeah, you'd probably know it though. I mean,
what can come later in life though, too.
That's true.
Like I wasn't lactose intolerant for most of my life, and then just recently found out that I was.
Okay, I was gonna say I better make sure.
So yeah, these intolerances can come later in life. So maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I wonder sometimes if I'm intolerant to anything. You know what I'm intolerant towards? Fascism. Fascists. Fascists make me itch.
You know what I'm intolerant towards? Immigrant. No, I'm kidding.
Upload failed. What happened? That's a new thing. I've never seen that before.
I just lost it forever.
I hope not. That was a good. That was a good.
It was a good little.
It was a fun one.
Do you want to go through these, see if we actually know? I haven't seen Beverly Hills Cop since I was a little kid, so I don't know. Jimmy McNulty. I love The Wire.
There we go. Sheriff Andy Taylor.
I love The Wire though. But I think The Wire has a pretty realistic depiction of police officers in that they are kind of all bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole shtick, though, isn't it? Like, I'm not too familiar with it.
Yeah.
People tell me I should watch it, but I haven't actually seen it.
It's fantastic. But yeah, the cops are kind of bad. All of them are portrayed pretty unsympathetically. But Jimmy McNulty has not engaged in any sort of police brutality, although he does kind of sort of break the rules and stuff,
Right.
in order to sort of get the taps that he wants to. But ultimately, they're waging like the war on drugs, which is not really redeemable.
Sorry,
I guess we could save it till we talk till we get this back on the stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like McNulty. All right.
Sorry, I gotta.
No worries. It's still possible.
Correct.
We also don't have any viewers besides us.
Fair enough. It's because they're all on the audio. I won't be able to tell. She knows I'm over here.
You text Molly?
Yeah. They ordered pizza a while ago, so which will be my dinner when I get home.
Ooh.
And she said
Oh yeah, I'm
that,
gonna swing by too.
She was checking to see if I had a confirmation, and I was like, I don't know. It's like you do it off your account.
All right, I'll swing by, grab some slices too.
I was considering waiting to get it to eat first, but whatever.
It's getting late though, you know. If you had eaten first,
Right.
and then came here, like, oh no, is my pups crying? My baby.
Papa John, is he? No.
Pop John's a bastard.
Yeah,
For sure. Didn't he say the N-word?
He's awful. Yeah. During a CEO conference call where they're just like, we just want to talk about the day-to-day operations, sir, and then he just went on this like huge racist rant.
What a creep.
Okay, that's getting solved apparently.
The pizza?
Yeah, she's on hold with them. They're trying to see because we order online and apparently it hasn't gone through or something, so she's checking to see what the scoop is on that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so who's the next one you got on the list here?
Oh,
We're
Jimmy
back.
McNulty
Oh, Jimmy McNulty from The Wire.
from The
yeah.
Wire.
So we did start a little bit of this in between here, but so go ahead. I'm not super familiar with The Wire. People tell me it's a show that like one of the top shows you have to watch in your
Yeah,
life.
absolutely. And this is coming from someone who has no like police experience, but from what I know about the police, I think The Wire portrays them the most accurately. It's definitely not like propaganda like the rest of them, where like the cops are the good guys. It's very morally gray. In fact, I think the whole point of the show is to show that like the drug dealers and the gangsters and the police are essentially just like opposing forces of the same war, and like they're almost just like symbiotic of each other. And yeah, like the police, even when they do like a bust or do something good, it doesn't actually change anything. So the whole show is very futile as far as like it ends with them not obviously they don't save Baltimore. And like Baltimore's great by the end of it. Like it's just it's cyclical. It's all like
It's a never ending.
yeah. In fact, there's a brief moment in the show where the chief of police goes behind everyone's back and just like creates a safe zone in the city where you can essentially just drugs are legal within like these couple of blocks, and like crime everywhere just completely plummets as like everyone just goes to this place and they just like there's no more violence. There's not a gang war going on anymore because everyone's just operating like a legal business now from this place. And then when it gets found out, they like go in there and like tear it up, and then everything goes back to normal. So like it's almost saying like, yeah, if you ended the war on drugs, like a lot of these problems would go away. Jimmy McNulty specifically doesn't engage in any police brutality, which like a couple of the other main cops actually do that. But Jim McNulty does break the rules a lot to like. He's essentially just like a detective, and he wants to like solve puzzles. He's not a good guy. He's like an alcoholic who like, you know, cheats on his wife and stuff. But yeah, you know, like McNulty's fine. He's fine.
He gets fired in the real world.
Oh, he does. He gets. I don't know if you're gonna watch the show or not. So
Honestly,
I don't want to.
Probably not.
He gets fired in the show.
Oh well, damn. That's right.
He goes behind. And this is spoilers for anyone else who hasn't seen it. They are like on the cusp of solving like essentially like a string of murders that's going on because a new gangster comes in because they arrest like the big guy, and there creates a power vacuum, and these new guys come in, and these new guys are like ruthless and just like murdering everybody and hiding them in like abandoned buildings. And he's getting close to like solving it when they pull the plug on his investigation. So he fakes a serial killer. Like he ties like a red band around all of like the bodies they find, like around their wrists, to create like the illusion of a serial killer.
Yeah.
When in actuality, they are serial killers. They are killing all these people.
Right.
But like, it's not a story to
trying to like create a narrative of a serial killer.
You know,
versus...
like gangbangers getting shot isn't like a story, right. But like a serial killer on the loose is. So he does that, and then when they find out, they fire him.
Yeah.
So you know what, McNulty, you're all right, buddy.
Fired in the real world and you lose your pension, but you're safe by us. Let's see here. Who do we got next? Andy Taylor from the Andy Griffith Show.
That's before my time, brother.
I've seen it, but that's more sitcom-y and situational, so I'd probably give it
Yeah, I think we've covered the ones we're going to know.
I don't know. Let's see. Let's roll through. The Naked Gun.
The best one. You're like, you don't follow the rules. It's like, hey, when I see a guy getting stabbed in the park by a bunch of freaks in togas, I do something about it. Like, that was a performance of Shakespeare in the Park, you idiot.
Fired in the real world. Next. Let's see here. There might be one or two more that we know. Chief Wiggum
is a parody of like a bad cop, so of
Right.
course he's a bastard.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Serpico.
Yep. He we've talked about him a little bit.
He's right.
Shot for trying to oppose corruption.
Yeah. So
he gets passed by me.
He's not a fictional cop. He's a real guy.
He was a real guy. Yeah.
What is he doing on this list?
It's Al Pacino's fictional portrayal of a real guy.
What is he doing on
Does
this
Al
list?
Pacino get a pass by us? Is Al Pacino a bastard? He played Scarface. He also played Serpico. Where does he lay on the scale of morality?
Both those guys are bad.
That's funny.
Vic Mackey on The Shield. I watched the first season of The
I
Shield.
haven't seen it.
He's a bastard.
It's one I missed too.
He's for sure a bastard.
Let's see here.
Starsky and Hutch.
Rick Grimes.
Rick Grimes.
Oh.
He's fine because we never actually see him being a cop.
The only time we see him being a policeman is when he is chasing down a high-speed subject, and then they shoot him first, and of course he shoots back. So
Yeah,
our only interaction of him being an
he's sort of an
lawman,
idealized
Yeah.
version of a cop as well.
Yeah, so in terms of being an actual lawman, inconclusive.
Blade Runner, he's a bad guy in that. Like he hunts down replicants. Right. Like
Correct.
it's
Rick Deckard.
he's not supposed to be a good guy.
Right. He is a bastard by definition. Let's see here.
Morgan Freeman in Seven, good cop. He's a murder detective.
I've only seen it once. So
He's good.
what's in the box?
That was Brad Pitt.
That's the only
And Brad
line
Pitt ended up murdering the
Yeah.
serial killer, which again is another thing of like, well, that's fine. Like, I don't think anyone's losing sleep over the fact that this serial killer got shot,
Right.
you know? But, you know, he tried to stop him from doing it.
Right.
So far as fictional cops go, he's fine.
Biggest line I remember from that.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Yeah, I remember when I was a firefighter, we were working at fire camps. They would they had these like disposal places for anyone who like didn't finish their lunches, because like the lunches you give firefighters are like 4,000 calories. Damn. So a lot of times people will like chuck out like their beef jerky and their like Cliff Bars and stuff.
That's the best stuff that you want to eat.
Yeah.
Like, why would you?
And they give you like a sandwich, chips, and a bunch of other like a bunch of snacks and stuff. So they like, rather than just throw them away, they put them in the snack box. And so like we'd get them and bring them back to the camp, and we'd always go, "What's in the snack box?"
You know, one time when I was running the convenience store chain, a lot of times when we would get like product that was discontinued and stuff, they would just, you know, the natural thing to do would be, waste it out and then throw it away. Mm-hmm. And I had a bunch of energy drinks and stuff, and I was just like, I'm going to go give these to the fire department.
Yeah.
And I went and dropped off like a bunch of like drinks and shit for them.
Nice.
And I was just like, and then it was kind of funny because I, rang the doorbell, because every fire department has like a doorbell, so it lets people know that you're there. And the guy comes down, he's like, "Yeah, can I help you?" He kind of gave me a look, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I manage a C-store here in town, and I want to give you some drinks. And he's like, "For what?" And I was like, "Because you guys are awesome."
For just
like,
being you.
Yeah, for doing what you do, bro. And I was like, "So," I was like, "Do you want them?" He's like, "What do you want for them?" And I was like, I don't. I want to leave them here.
They're free.
I want you to go to my car, and I want you to get them out of my car. That's what I want. So they took them, and they loved them. And then I also did the same thing once for some National Guards that were stationed down the street from us.
Yeah. They might be the ops, though, now.
Yeah. Well, they were a bunch of cooks, so.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
That's what they were training to be, was cooks.
All right. Are we? I think this is the end of it. Ooh, are we ending this little segment?
Do just a little bit more. I want to see if there's.
You want to bounce a couple off me?
Just a few here, just to see here.
This is the end of the list.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
No, it's not. There's still like 40 inches of page to scroll through.
Is it? Oh,
look at you.
Well, I saw the little loading thing and figured it was done.
Danny Butterman, also from Hot Fuzz.
Good cop.
Good cops through sheer ineptitude, right? Like the inability
to
perform his job. Who thinks of a good cop?
Good cop.
Let's see here. Anybody else? Leon Kennedy.
Oh, Russ Cole from True Detective, of course.
Oh.
Good cop.
Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil.
Not familiar.
We did start out as a semi-gaming channel. Let's talk about that. I think probably a good cop, because he exists only to kill zombies.
Sure.
And save the president's daughter. Why not?
Sure.
In other countries.
Schmidt from 21 Jump Street. They're bad cops.
Officer Barbrady.
Officer Barbrady. Good cop. Bro, he went above and beyond.
Yeah, I don't know. They show him many a time like just beating people.
Was
respect
he?
my authority. He's like, you don't hit the criminals like that. You hit them in the head.
I don't remember Officer Barbrady. I'm mixing him up. I'm mixing up the redheaded cop with the mustache.
I just want to play Red Dead Redemption. Yeah.
Mixing up with that guy, who's also a bastard. I remember.
He's a bastard for sure.
All the cops in South Park are bastards.
Barbrady was inept, but they do show him beating people for no reason too.
All right, Barbrady's a bastard.
You heard it here first, folks.
Barbrady's a bastard. So is the redhead cop.
Man. Let's see. I don't know who that is.
Oh, the other guys.
Oh, you know what? We know Mark Wahlberg shoots people for no reason.
This is Will Ferrell's character, Alan Gamble. I think. So the whole.
He just wants to be like an accountant, right?
Yeah.
Like, aside from when he gets pulled into the field by Mark Wahlberg's character,
and they get to the bottom of like a big financial crime. So like they went and policed like white collar crime, which is like.
And I think Alan Gamble's by the book as well. Like he would.
Is he? Didn't he get his gun taken away? Oh, he got his gun taken away for shooting in the office.
They tricked him into doing a what do they call it? A desk
pop.
Desk pop. Yeah.
Seth Rogen and Superbad.
Probably a bad cop.
For sure, a bad cop, but I kind of like him
within the context. Within the context of the movie, he's probably fine.
He's absolutely a bad cop. Like
in the real world.
But like he's fine.
He's fine. We'll let him go.
Brad Pitt in Seven.
What's
He's
in the
fine.
box?
He's fine.
Let's see. Okay,
Of course, all cops are bastards, though. Like, Rama in The Raid.
I don't even know that.
You don't know The Raid?
Uh-uh.
Raid's fantastic. It's a really good martial arts movie.
I love martial arts movies.
Yeah. It's literally got like such a shoestring plot. Like it's so thin. Like it's really just about these cops who have to go do a drug bust in like an apartment complex. And so, but it's 2 hours of like really good choreographed fight scenes.
That's what I love.
Like that's
There
all
is
it is.
a movie.
And like single takes and stuff. It's very like John Wick-esque. It's really good.
There is a movie. Oops, I think I'm gonna mess something up here. There's a movie called Invisible Target. It's got oh boy, what's his name? Wu Jing in it.
Unfamiliar.
Anyways, one of the lead actors is Jackie Chan's son, JC Chan, and it's about 3 cops who kind of get intertwined in it's placed in Hong Kong, so that doesn't slightly different environment, but one of the endings of the climaxes is one of the cops is like a new cop, and he's trying to be like, actually help people by the book. The other 2 are kind of like, we're gonna do what we have to do. And then like kind of like the climax, they're like, just kill him. Like he's fighting one of the guys, and they're like, just kill him. And he's like, no, we're police. Like our job is to arrest people, not kill them. And it's kind of a neat little climax. And then they end up arresting the bad guys at the end, except one of them does kill the bad guy. But anyways, it's kind of an interesting little dynamic in there.
Is that guy a good cop then?
Underrated movie. Yeah. J.C. Chan's character, good cop. The other 2.
Chan, good cop.
The other 2.
All right.
Somehow one of them drives like a Ferrari or something. But all right.
Bookend of this little
that was fun
segment.
That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So if anybody thinks of any other fictional police that you want us to analyze, send an email to thesourssource at gmail.com. Fun to go over. I
of course,
enjoyed that.
The institution of policing is bad, so all cops, even if portrayed well, ultimately are bad because
good cops are killed or fired.
Well, our justice system disproportionately oppresses poor people, and so if they're doing their jobs and doing them well, they're doing bad things.
Sorry about that. I got to send this out real quick.
Sure. Did you have what's going on next?
All right. As we transition into the next segue.
Oh, quick shout out to our Irish followers. According to our data, the only people outside of the U.S. that watch this show are from Ireland for some reason. Don't know why you're listening, but appreciate it.
Before I have you open up the next email that I sent to the account, more things to react to. Why is it that police need to shoot dogs? I saw a video of a canine unit walking down the sidewalk, and there was a fenced-in front yard, and one of the other dogs comes up to the edge of the fence, and starts barking, and then the cop just like his dog loses a little bit of control, and then he just shoots the other dog.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they do it, because they're sociopaths. But you could watch just compilation videos of them going out of their way to shoot dogs. I mean, I've seen one where it's the body cam footage. An officer just walks up to a fence, like puts his hand out to call a dog over, and the dumb dopey dog is like, trotting over, and he just fucking shoots it.
I posted one on my Facebook page of it was a botched drug raid. There was no drugs in the house, and they shot all the dogs in the house.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one too, where he asks the guys like, "Where are your dogs?" Like they're in the other room. He just goes to the hallway, and the dog like comes out to see what's going on, and he goes, "Dog!
There's a dog in here!"
and just like shoots it like twice with a fucking shotgun.
Yeah.
And then the other dog comes out like scared, but wanting to check on like his friend, and he just shoots that dog too. And it's like, whatever, man.
Okay.
Like, but that's. I told you that I went to that Blue Lives the Back to Blue rally. That's what my sign, I had one side of the sign said, until bad cops are held accountable, all cops are bastards. And then the other side of the sign said, cops are like a box of chocolates, they'll kill your dog. Because I had just seen that video, and I was like, fuck them. I walked around, and dude, I was getting harassed so badly. They hated me. I told you about this, right? This
Yeah,
old
you
guy
did.
was fucking following me around. He spit on my arm, and yeah, fuck him.
But that's what you're dealing with. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, that I had thought about this comment after the fact. You know how you think of something like, oh man, I should have said that. But like, if you really stop and think about it, I mean, that's just the moral of the story. Because I think you said the guy was an ex-cop, right?
Yeah.
And like his immediate intuition was to escalate the situation.
Oh yeah,
like,
it was to like walk around. He was like, "I'm gonna kick your fucking ass."
Yeah.
And, you know, and he fucking. I was like, "Sir, like, could you stand 6 feet away from me? You're not wearing a mask." And he started coughing on me, and he spit on my arm.
That's what
And he was like kicking my legs, like as I was walking away from him to like try to like trip me. And I kept going like, "Dude, stop fucking touching me." And he was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about it?" I was like, "Dude, if you touch me one more fucking time, I might have to do something." And this lady's like, "I'm watching. He's not doing anything to you. And if anything happens, we'll say you started it." And I was
exactly.
like,
That's
you know,
what
you got
you're
all
up
these fucking
against.
but you got all these people who are supposedly there because they love like law and order, and it's like he is assaulting me. He's breaking the fucking law.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna go fucking call the cops
No,
on him
they-
because I'm there protesting the police. But it's like, if you guys are on the side of the police, this man is clearly fucking assaulting me.
Yeah.
Like breaking the law,
Like, why
and
aren't
yet
you
you're
coming
siding
to
with
his
him
aid?
because
Yeah.
you know.
Because
But that's ultimately the whole fucking. That's the whole problem.
See, and then like the right wing.
I don't speak German. Addressing the chat, which is weird because I know what that means, but.
But
yeah,
anyways,
he
like
was-
that's what they use. That's what they utilize, though. It's like that's always their gotcha moment. It's like, oh, you know, BLM wants to defund the police, but they have to call the police for protection. Like, haha, like what, you know? And
yeah,
it's just
it's like they're fucking assaulting me, and it's like yeah. What
because
are my options? Like,
it's because the police know that the right wing has always been the threat to society. Like the FBI's known it for years at this point in time, and they choose not to
Yeah.
prosecute, like, or investigate for that matter. Let's start with that, but.
yeah, I just a story just came out of fucking Portland where you know, Proud Boys and like what are they called, 51%ers or whatever, or 3%ers, I'm sorry, like these fascist organizations
Oh,
are
yeah.
there and literally shooting BLM protesters like with like paintballs
They,
and
I
stuff,
saw a thing
and
yesterday
the
where
cops
they,
just watched it all.
where they somebody carted in like a bunch of dudes in trucks, like, you know, armed to the teeth, of course, because that's one thing is our side has yet to catch up on is
Yeah, all
exercising
you,
our Second Amendment rights.
all the feckless libs need to like get on board, man. Is gun violence out of control in the U.S. like you
100%.
uniquely, unlike anywhere else in the world? Like, of course it is, but
That reminds me of the like somebody like tried to do a gotcha moment on AOC where they're like, what does a world with defunded police look like to you? And she's like, well, it looks like the suburbs where we invest money into programs to prevent crime.
yeah,
And it's like what was your goal in that? Like,
yeah. AOC is sharp, man, because they try so hard to get her with gotchas all the
100%.
time, and she's always like, do you remember? I think this was like last year. They had that one like right wing plant come in there and talk about how like we need to start killing babies.
oh yeah,
Like and AOC like de-escalated the situation like a champ, you know?
Did I,
like
yeah.
like really like sympathetically tried to like portray her as like someone who was like clearly had some sort of like
And people-
mental illness, and you know tried to talk her down and was like, well, I don't think it's that dire yet, you know, like
Right.
we'll be able to handle it as long as we like get a handle on it. We don't have to start killing babies. And they still like tore her apart in the news cycle. Like the right wing news cycle was like, look at that, she supports killing babies, and it's
Yeah.
like she'd never even. It's like it doesn't matter.
it doesn't.
Like the truth does not matter to right wingers.
No,
at all.
100% not. It's all about, you know, my side is right, and that's all that matters. And it's like, you know, here's a, you know, super props to the Satanic Temple here. I'm gonna give them a shout out. Did you see that they added an abortion ritual to their charter,
No,
which
so
which now means that it's protected by the Religious Freedom Act?
hey, good on them.
I actually respect them a lot. Because they do a lot to like demonstrate what the First Amendment is actually
like
about.
the hypocrisy, like putting
Yeah.
like the statue of Baphomet outside of
the courthouse, and
because it's like if they have the
And
Ten
then-
Commandments, then you have to be
right,
able
and
to
then
allow.
the awesome sick ass skull hand of Satan next to the nativity, like
No, they're fine.
little fun shout out there if you guys haven't seen that. I have an article, and we could in between breaks 2 and 3 here, I will send it to the link here, and we can actually go over that too. It'll be a fun one, but
Sure.
It's an article about, can the evangelicals actually spot the Antichrist?
Because it's Donald Trump. No, it's
Yes.
yeah. I don't understand the warped mind of an evangelical who can like look at a guy who's just the embodiment of just everything bad. And this is not like it's not a political analysis by me. Donald Trump as just a human being is a bad guy.
I remember, my mom tried to make me semi-religious growing up. I was baptized at the age of 5 or whatever, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. 4, 3, I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
Catholic or
Catholic.
okay.
And I attended church a few times, and I had a friend growing up that if I was allowed to come over to his house, I had to go to church with him on Sundays, which I was willing to waste an hour of my life every Sunday to hang out with a friend of mine.
Yeah, I had a buddy the same way.
Yeah. So, but I remember once when I was a wee lad, and I went to my biological dad's house, and he lived in another state, and I spent a week or 2 out there, and he always had that evangelical shit on the TV. And I remember, and I distinctly remember this memory as a 6 or 7-year-old, because I was just like, oh, these people are crazy. Because on the screen was a man in a suit, and they had a big-ass mega church, and he brought a lady up, and he's like, this woman is plagued by the cancer. And by God's power, the cancer is gone. He like fucking just like decked her in the head. Like it wasn't like, I don't know, it was open hand, just like hardcore, just popped her one. And he's like, and she is now cured. Her cancer is gone. And then they brought up like an AIDS patient, and she's like, by the power of the Lord, the HIV is gone, and like smacked him in the back.
I mean,
of the head.
I had a like the super religious friend that I had growing up. Because I had like a weird edgy atheist phase when I was in high school.
Me too.
But my best friend, he was super religious. He went to church like 4 times a week because he was in like the church band too. So they'd have like youth services on like Thursdays. They'd have church on Fridays. They'd have church on Sunday, and they'd have like band practice on like Monday and Tuesday. So he was like always at church. So if I ever wanted to hang out with him, I have to go there. And he would tell me this stuff all the time that like, you can't explain miracles, man. Sometimes people will have like inoperable cancer, and they'll pray about it and it'll go away. And it's like, well, do you have any evidence of this? Or is this just like, someone just told you this once?
And even if that happens, because I've been told a similar thing. I had my super religious friend, his aunt had like brain cancer, I think. And they said the same thing. That like it magically went away after praying, and it's like, you can't prove that didn't happen. And it's like, you can't prove that it was a miracle. Like there could be some biological process that you don't know about.
They've done like prayer studies where like, half the people pray and then the control group doesn't pray, and it's the same result.
It's like the argument I got in with that one dude about like why my belief structure is like, the guy I was telling you about how he was like, if you don't have the faith, then all the changes are pointless. And it's like, I disagree vehemently, because that's just insane. Like, why wouldn't you want to?
There's been, different schools of thought. There's been philosophies that are like that. Of course, it's if there is no God, like everything is morally relative. But there's also been people who have said that there are absolute morals to be, extrapolated
there's
just
some
even from from like a secular position, which I lean towards that. I mean, obviously, morals shift throughout like cultures and times. But I think that ultimately we understand what's bad and what isn't.
There is a term, and I can't tell you what it is without looking it up, that is like that. It's like universally things that are considered criminal or whatever, like murder, theft.
But I mean, even certain cultures like samurai and knights and stuff, like they were allowed to like murder peasants if they disrespected them.
That's true.
The police are allowed to murder people. So I don't think
just because they're universally considered awful doesn't mean that the culture. No.
So I mean,
the culture okays it. And I was going to bring this up too. I thought of this question while we were talking about fictional cops too. How much you were talking about like propaganda? How much of it is because we see it on the TV? Like if we were to see like a show of nothing of police brutality, like over time, would that cause people to think like, oh, maybe this is actually normal and it's okay? Like, would there be some of that?
What do you mean?
Like, let's say you had a TV show. I don't have any examples off the top of my head. But just a show that was, like, like a loose cannon guy. Like by seeing Dirty Harry just trample people's civil rights, like does that normalize the behavior 30 to 40 years down the line?
I don't think this is incidental. Like I don't think that there's 50 million cop shows like by accident.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like how many firefighting shows are there? There's that one with Dennis Leary.
Chicago FD. That was one that was pretty good. That's about it.
But I mean,
I can name you 20 cop shows right now.
Yeah,
NYPD
exactly.
Blue,
NCIS,
NCIS,
CSI,
Law and Order,
Law and Order,
SVU, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, Law and Order.
Cops even.
Cops, Live PD.
You know, there's
Cops got canceled.
Yeah, good. But yeah, I don't think that this is incidental. Like I think that the police are the only like social program that the wealthy rely on. So I don't think it's any wonder that they try to glorify them and portray them. It's the same as like the military and cops. Like these are ostensibly bad jobs. Mm-hmm. I think the whole like glory aspect to it that is played up, I think is a recruitment tactic, because I don't think anyone would do these jobs if they weren't glorified.
I thought about this one a lot, and I got a couple minutes here to drop some thoughts on it. Because generally speaking, like I know I've said in the past, like I'm relatively like pro-military. You know, I respect the guys who do the job, right? But to me, like obviously we shouldn't be fighting in 1,000 different wars. Like there's just about never a need for foreign intervention.
Yeah.
Unless it's like what we were taught like growing up. Like, should we intervene to stop a genocide? Like during the Bush presidency, Darfur, if it's not still happening, it happened. Like, should that have been an intervention tactic? Whether not necessarily by the U.S., but maybe even the UN. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I don't necessarily mind when like a United Nations.
When you see like I guess it's like me. Like when you see a commercial on TV when it's like we're freedom fighters, we're fighting for the free. Yeah. It's like okay, well, so you want to go help an oppressed. Yeah, that's true. But like it's like okay, what are you doing? Are you gonna go actually help and oppress people, or are you just gonna fund a genocide by proxy? Like what are you doing? Like giving being critical of like Israel, and they've been bombing Gaza for like 8 days now again.
Yeah.
Like shouldn't that be like something like we would want to intervene against because it's blatant human rights violation? Like
we would never intervene with Israel.
No, of course not. I'm just saying like by an idealistic standpoint,
should we?
Isn't that what?
Yeah, we should stop sending foreign aid to Israel if they refuse to respect international law. Of course we should.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I'm not saying that we should go invade Israel.
No.
Like that's the difference. There
that
are
should
things,
be a absolute 1,000% last resort.
Yeah. It's a juicy topics, so we'll have to get into it. We'll have to get into it in the next audio segment.
That might be something we have to.
We can stick on the subject when we get back.
This whole responding to things is we should do a whole episode of like what intervention would have been logical at for different events in the world.
So I think I've said this on another stream, but there's
my back.
There's a book, it's the Chapo Guide to Revolution. Mm-hmm. And at one point in it, they just go like, I think being hindsight is 20/20. If you want to ask yourselves honestly, would the world be in a better position if after 9/11 we all just pretended it didn't happen? And it's like, yeah, like we would be in a better position if we didn't get involved in a decades-long war in the Middle East. If we just like 9/11 happened and we just didn't do anything.
I think that's like the biggest reason of why people say like who was it in 2020 Jesus Christ 2000 was it Gore, right? Gore Bush, and like why Gore shouldn't have conceded.
Yeah, because I don't think Gore would have gone into Iraq because it was a weird sort of like glory thing for George Bush because his dad never deposed of Saddam Hussein. Right. So it became a vengeance thing to the point that like he kept Saddam Hussein's pistol in his office as like a trophy, Like George Bush had this weird like complex of just like, I'm going to get this guy because my dad didn't.
Right.
And not to mention like, Dick Cheney being the executive of, Halliburton. And
there's
making billions of dollars.
There's a little bit too. I can save this for the next bit too, because I watched a really good documentary about like the failures of just like the military logistics system, and a lot of it was Rumsfeld's fault. Like he constantly ignored like his advisors.
Yeah.
Like throughout the entirety of the Iraq War, like all the top generals were like, if you're actually going to do this and you want to depose this dictator and instill a new government, you're going to need at the minimum like 500,000 troops. And he's like, nah, we'll do it with 20,000.
I don't know. I don't think we went with the intention of winning.
No.
We went with the intention of perpetuating,
creating an eternal war. Yeah, something that will never end.
That's why we go to war with concepts, like the war on drugs and the war on terror, and the war on communism, and it's just like these are just vague ideas because we're never gonna win. That's the point. Like we're never gonna. The war on drugs is even to like the most ardent conservative. Just a failure,
right?
Like you can't possibly. Like we're in the middle of a opioid pandemic that is ravaging people.
This actually plays into what I've talked about in previous streams about the singular line thought process, because they cannot connect those two concepts. Because you talk to like a hardcore conservative and you're like, war is bad, right? And war, yeah, absolutely. Then why are we in Iraq?
Nah, dude,
Michael, they're fighting for our freedom, and it's like, oh boy.
I was listening to fucking Michael Savage the other day. And this is literally when I went like, this dude is a monster. Because at one point he does, I forget what movie he's talking about. Maybe it's Dunkirk, I think, where he was like, this movie just portrays war as just such a bad thing, such a tragic event, like you got these movies that make war out to be like this bad thing. And it's like, it is a bad thing, right? You fucking monster. Like, so no, I don't think that conservatives consider war to be a bad thing. I mean, they certainly don't consider like imperialism to be a bad thing.
No.
Or like, being involved in all these proxy wars in the Middle East and drone striking all these civilians. Are we ready to get back into it?
We can. I'll let you finish that thought.
Well, I have something that I would like on the stream.
Okay.
Because where did we leave off last time?
So we had stopped there in that little interlude about we were talking about like intervention in Israel.
Yeah. So of course conservatives don't consider imperialism to be a bad thing, because I was thinking about this the other day, where my favorite right-wing conspiracy theory is like Michelle Obama is trans. Have you heard this?
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's constantly in these like QAnon circles and these Alex Jones kind of circles, is that like Michelle Obama is a man, and it's always like, you never seen her pictures of her pregnant, like the kids are adopted. She's like her real name is Michael. She's one of like Obama's friends from college.
Not even created the name.
All of these things, and it's like the reason it's my favorite conspiracy theory is because it's not even a bad thing. Like, even if it turned out to be true, which is not, it's just like this idea that like Michelle Obama is like masculine. But it's like, even if it turned out to be true, okay, so what? She's trans, like big fucking deal. When in actuality, there are a million like legitimate criticisms to levy at Barack Obama. But have you ever heard a conservative say Obama was a bad president because his drone strike policy killed millions? Like, have you ever heard a conservative be like, he escalated drone striking?
No.
And it was a bad thing? No.
I've like people are talking about like my coworker I've addressed in previous podcast was like, I don't want Biden to be president because he's a socialist, blah blah. And he's like, he's going to raise my taxes. He's like, they did it during Obama. It's like Obama extended the Bush tax cuts. What are you talking about?
He made them permanent. Yeah.
I was like I got into an argument one time with a super Trumper dude that I used to know. I don't even want to call him my friends. I just used to argue with him all the time. And when they signed the tax bill that gave $1.5 trillion back to the richest Americans, in the reality of it is the Bush extension, or Obama's Bush tax cut extension, was a much bigger tax cut for them.
Yeah.
And I told him that, and I was like, this isn't even the biggest tax cut that's ever been handed out to rich people.
Yeah.
Like, number one, you don't benefit from it because I know how much you make. And number two, like, and he's like, oh, that's not true. Trump's tax cut is way bigger. And I was like, oh, boy.
Trump's tax cut, too, though, was 86% of the the went to
the top 1%.
The top 1%, yeah.
See, I also got into another
and
argument
also,
with him,
like,
too.
the tax cut for the middle class is temporary.
Yeah.
And the tax cut for the rich is permanent. Of course, because of course it is. But, like, the same thing, too. Like, they'll say, like, Obama, try to take people's guns. When, Trump in 4 years passed more gun control than Obama did in 8. They have a completely warped notion, but they've never criticized Obama for anything legitimate. Like, they've never criticized him for deporting more immigrants than anyone else.
Yep.
They've never criticized him for actually being the one to start, like, locking up children.
Correct.
They've never criticized him for his drone strike policy. That's, but they'll be like, Obama's gay. Like Obama's wife's a man. Yeah. Like, it's like it's ridiculous. But
Obama orders Big Macs without the Mac sauce.
Oh yeah, Obama put Dijon mustard on it, and it's like
it's on his hot dog.
He wore a tan suit one time.
Oh yeah, the tan suit thing was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
There was a time. Are you familiar with Lupe Fiasco? He's a rapper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kick Push.
Yeah. There was a. He's done a lot of like socially conscious rap where he's talked about a lot of these issues.
Might have to check him out.
He was on Bill O'Reilly during the Obama years, and Bill O'Reilly railed on Obama for every little thing. Hated the guy, right? And Lupe Fiasco gets on there, and Lupe Fiasco's like, Obama's a terrorist. And Bill O'Reilly, like the biggest critic of Obama, was like, well, hey there, slow down. And Lupe Fiasco's like, no, like Obama is a lot of things. Like he wears a lot of different hats. He's a good father. He's a good speaker. He's probably a decent guy. He's also a terrorist. And Bill O'Reilly's like, you can't say that. Like, that's crazy. But it's like, he is criticizing Obama, the guy you hate. But because it was something about U.S. imperialism, Bill O'Reilly became Obama's biggest defender.
Yeah, they didn't know how to respond to it. There was a similar thing that happened just recently. They, I know you don't like him, but Tucker Carlson had Jimmy Dore.
Of course I don't like. Oh, Jimmy Dore. I was like, of course I don't like Tucker Carlson.
You don't like either of them.
I don't like Jimmy Dore.
I do, but I also like. He does ignore certain things. Anyways,
yeah,
this is not a critique. But he had Jimmy Dore on there, and of course Tucker's like, let me talk to you a little bit about how bad the Democrats are. And Jimmy Dore, being a staunch anti-Democratic Party, independent progressive, started agreeing with him. And he's like, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how Nancy enables this. And then Tucker's like, they cut the interview like super short because he's like, oh yeah, that's not what I brought you on here for.
How Nancy is like
the chief enabler of Donald
Trump.
Yeah. Which is like another one I got into an
also
argument.
An enabler of George Bush.
That too. She was well aware of the torture program.
Yeah, she was well aware of the lie about WMDs. And yeah.
Another one too, like I argued with he says he's a friend of mine. He says he leans right, but he's really tries to vote for the better pick. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how he actually likes Donald Trump and how he thinks Trump is not corrupt. And of course, naturally, I had about an hour of material to go over with him.
Yeah.
And then he said something about how he hates Nancy Pelosi. And I was like, you should love Pelosi.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? And I was like, she's protected your...
She's your girl,
yeah,
that's why.
She's been keeping your guy in power.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the fact that, like, the post office...
Yeah.
is written into the body of the Constitution, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it is to be funded and protected. It is it's not even an amendment. It's in the Constitution. And somebody asked Pelosi in an interview like a week ago, they're like, are you going to bring back your Congress in order to impeach Donald Trump over this blatant constitutional violation? No, he's not worth our time. It's like,
yeah,
he's sabotaging elections, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, honestly, just throw the book at him.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, Nancy. Yeah, Nancy sucks. It's funny. I realize we don't get it. We don't get in a whole lot of like Donald Trump trashing.
See, here's the thing. I thought about this because you talked about last time about how we spend a lot of time trashing the Democratic Party because we're in it. Well, I mean, I am. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're registered or not.
I am registered. I voted in the primary for Bernie Sanders. It's cool. They gave us like a ranked choice voting. I didn't know we had that.
Third state. You know what? This is what I will say about the Democrats. The Kansas Democratic Party is one of the more like our party platform in the state is one of the more progressive Democratic Party platforms.
I went Bernie Sanders first. Tulsi Gabbard was still in the race at the time, so she was second, and then I didn't pick a third because it was Joe Biden.
This is how messed up. This is what I did. I voted Bernie and then didn't pick a second, third, or fourth.
I picked Tulsi just because, like,
I think I had to, I don't remember. I had Tulsi. Tulsi had already endorsed Joe Biden at the time, and I was I think. Right, and I was fresh on my anger.
No, I don't think she had. She hadn't dropped out yet. At this time was when she said she would do a UBI in an attempt to, like, I think get like Yang voters. But yeah, no.
I know Tulsi wasn't invited to speak at the DNC.
Yeah, we don't trash Trump a lot because, like, it's too easy. This
is what I was going to go into.
Yeah.
Because somebody asked me that too. It's like, why do you talk about the Democrats so much when, you know, obviously the Republicans are the party, are the enemy or whatever.
Of course.
You know, the problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the reasoning is like, we know they're bad. Like, we know they're going to do every single thing they can to hamper any sort of progress of any kind. And the thing about it is when you have, when you have an entire majority chunk in one party actively enabling the other side, like, that seems to me to always have been like where the chief critique should go, right?
Well, I found myself getting really dragged in, like, the leftist circles that I'm in for a couple of things. Like, I guess I was in this ANCOM group and we were talking about, like, I was like, dude, I don't think you can go to anarcho-communism, like, immediately. Like, I think, like, even Marx said that you need socialism first, and then the state would die off as we stopped needing it. And I got dragged for that, and someone was like, "You're a Leninist," which, fine, whatever. And then, I love Chapo Trap House to address the chat. And then another time I was like, I'm in this Antifa group, and we were talking about everyone was just, like, saying that, like, it doesn't, like, Joe Biden, Trump, like, it doesn't matter. And it's like, well, look, dude, one, I live in a red state, so it doesn't, I'm not voting for Joe Biden, but, like, is the left in a better position with Trump in office? Like, of course not. Like, which one of these sides is more sympathetic to our cause? There are a couple of redeemable Democrats. There are no redeemable Republicans. Are you kidding me? So it's like, so it's like, but unless we're planning a revolution within the next 4 years, which, like, I'm on board. Like, let me know. But if we're not, like, we need to take over the Democratic Party the way that the fascists have taken over the Republicans, because, are Republicans even discussing the concept of Medicare for all? Now, don't get me wrong, Democrats voted down Medicare for all by a massive majority, but the conversation is happening on that side, at least.
Right.
Legalizing marijuana. There's no Republicans that were talking about that, short of, like, libertarians, like the Rand Pauls and stuff. But which side should we get pressure on the Democrats from within the Democratic Party, or do we just, like, say fuck it? Like, Marx had said that accelerationism in the form of direct action, like strikes, like general strikes or even worker strikes, like things like that. But as far as, like, political accelerationism and, like, side with or, like, allow the fascists to take over.
Right.
It's like, no, like,
see, and I've long made the point of several times, unfortunately, because in my electoral history, my longest stint as a registered voter has been an independent in the I'll vote for the best guy category or abstain from voting.
When is it ever going to be? When is a Republican ever going to be the best guy?
Never. And I bring this up because I'm going to address chat real quick. The comment here is no Republicans want to legalize pot because half of them have their asses dipped in the private prison industry, and you are 1,000% correct. Yeah. And that's why you see laws like the one in Ohio that basically gave control of 2 or 3 corporations to produce marijuana for their legal pot program. Like,
yeah, well, that was like that was the thing that Bernie Sanders got dragged for, was that when he wanted to like decriminalize marijuana and also like set up programs in which like black and brown people would be able to start like legal marijuana businesses.
Correct.
People were like, "Is it racist?" And it's like, well, look what happens if we legalize marijuana. Like, all of these big companies are just going to like take it over and completely like monopolize the system.
100%.
It's the same
Philip
thing
Morris
as like,
is
it's
gonna,
tobacco.
Yeah,
It's big tobacco.
Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds, literally the only two tobacco companies left in the world, are gonna snatch up all the already dying family farmland and be like, you're gonna corporate produce me marijuana leaves, and I'm gonna pay you 15 cents on the dollar.
Also, though, did you see when private prison stocks jumped when when Kamala Harris was announced?
It's the same thing though.
I mean, that was the big criticism of her, was that when she was in California was actually extending people's sentencing so that she could exploit them for cheap labor.
And that one there too, the next comment we received in the chat, appropriated toaster, thank you for joining us, by the way. Legalize drugs, you get rid of the cartels. Oh yeah, I had gotten into a big discussion with a couple very conservative guys about this, about how U.S. failed foreign policy has led to the rise of the drug cartels, and that's one of them.
Yeah,
by creating a cash flow.
You create a black market for it. I mean, that's the same thing that happened with the mafia when they tried to pass prohibition.
Same thing.
But yeah, you put money into the hands of criminals. If you legalized it, they have no stake in the market to compete like the black, like all these criminals. And this is years ago, so I don't know how outdated this was, but it was something like 70% of the cartel's funding came from marijuana. I'm sure now it's shifted more to like meth and opiates. But
it was like 10% human trafficking and like 20% opiates / cocaine.
And it was like 70% marijuana.
That's another one too. Like a lot of people, some staunch criticism from the right about like open borders, right? The Democrats, they want open borders. It doesn't. The thing about it is our terrible immigration laws have also led to the rise of human trafficking from cartels, because a lot of times, like when families are trying to get here, and this is irrespective of like whether or not you believe illegal immigration and all that jazz, but
I don't believe in borders.
They have to pay somebody to help get them across the border. And when you like build like a wall, like all of a sudden that becomes a premium product, and more money has to go into their hands in order to create that product. So
what's funny is just this false dichotomy that's being presented between like the performative cruelty that the Trump administration is engaging in as far as their immigration policy, and like just open borders, just fuck it. And it's like there are like common sense protocols that you can do, like the process of declaring asylum, for example.
Yeah,
you're having these people who aren't even getting the chance to apply to be asylum seekers, and are just being carted off into these fucking concentration camps.
And that's like one of those like poorly worded laws that allows them to do that, because it's like you have to be on American soil to claim asylum. So they stop you at the border, and then they truck you off,
and then they just take you to the fucking concentration camps, and it's like, and then they just started spraying them down with like this fucking respiratory chemical, and they're being held in like these desert climates that are like freezing cold.
And that's another one too that goes back to what I've said many a times about how like conservatives are unable to link multiple thought chains together, like talking about trafficking, because it's like you say all lives matter, but you don't care about the human rights violations at the southern border.
Well, you don't care about the almost at this point just like an open secret that like the ICE is being currently engaged with sex trafficking. Are you kidding me? Like 14,000 of these kids have said that they've been sexually assaulted by ICE, and thousands of them are just disappearing.
Do you find it interesting that we haven't heard anything from Ghislaine Maxwell since she's been arrested?
She's a fall guy, though. Honestly, like
that's true.
I don't. It's not one person who's like all of sex trafficking can lead to this one fucking person.
Right. Yeah, we all know that it's like.
But these here's an example. Conspiracy theories. Did you there's an article, I think I shared it, where it was why are right-wing conspiracy theories so concerned with like, are so like pedophilia centric, I
don't think you shared that.
Okay. Do you watch my timeline? See what I share?
Sometimes.
But yeah, the article goes into the fact that like ultimately it comes down to like gay panic, and that like they've been trying to like pin like pedophilia onto like the LGBTQ community.
Oh yeah, they're starting.
My hypothesis is that they want to engage in just these vivid murder fantasies, because I don't know if you've seen a bunch of these like right-leaning people that I know are like talking about how badly they just want to like torture pedophiles and like chop them up and like, you know, cut their balls off and like string them up. And it's just like they just engage in just these ridiculous over the top like murder fantasies. But because it's about like a universally despised group, you can't go in there and be like, hey, like calm down. And they're going to be like, what, are you siding with pedophiles? So yeah, they're allowed to just sort of like
right. It's like
the funniest part though is that it's like conveniently it's everybody who doesn't like Donald Trump that's a pedophile. It's like Tom Hanks and shit. It's like yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's exactly. But it's like it's conveniently it's Tom Hanks, it's Hillary Clinton, it's everyone who doesn't like the president is a pedophile despite no evidence of it.
Well, you know,
but the president who has mountains of evidence of being a pedophile is not a pedophile. And
you know, I think it's like the case of like the most egregious projection that we can like tolerate in the public space, because like I have a list and I can find it where it's like what. Like this guy wrote this like essay about why does the right wing not prosecute child of sex offenders, and it's like because they are child sex offenders, and like he broke this down. It's like a list of like 100 public officials that have been caught.
Well, do you remember Roy Moore's campaign,
the Alabama senator? Yeah.
Where I think it was TYT. Somebody went out and they were asking like registered voters like if they were still going to vote for Roy Moore, given the recent accusations, and so many of them were like, you know, he was just, you know, it was a different time. You were able to hit on a 14-year-old girl at the mall. Like it was normal back then. And it's just like, you know,
that whole thing.
I think most rich people and most politicians are creeps.
Yeah, well,
like I think that's coming into fruition.
It comes into like a certain like personality type is what you need to get to that point.
But like I think I've seen like a comparative list of like actual like prosecutions, and like the Republican. Oh yeah, the chat says Henry Kissinger has probably molested people. No doubt, Henry Kissinger is just a monster individual who I think has like no nuance. I think if it came out the other day that he like skins puppies for fun, I'd be like, oh okay, yeah,
I'd believe it.
No, yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, makes sense. It was a different time.
But, it was a different time. You used to be able to skin puppies.
Oh God.
But yeah, dude, and it's so crazy. I'm seeing so much just like bombardment from these people about like save our children.
Oh, I hate it.
And it's just like,
I mean, I don't.
Well, obviously I don't hate it because obviously it's a bad thing.
This is exactly what you just said. You can't say it because then they're like, "Oh, will you side with pedophiles?
You like sex trafficking?" It's like, no, dude. But these like outlandish QAnon conspiracy theories are detrimental to actually combating sex trafficking. Like, and then this one girl is constantly posting, it's like, save the children. We're gonna get it to 3 million. And it's like, well, okay, what happens at 3 million? Does sex trafficking stop once the hashtag save the children gets up to 3 million? Is it over? Are we done with sex trafficking?
It's just like I did read like some good articles too. Like I learned a little bit about I'm going to address that in just a second because you're right. Like there's a bunch of like response articles to hashtag save the children where they're like, if this is what you actually care about, these are the things you need to look, because it's not always as blatant as you appear. And we should get what's her name back on
Courtney
to talk about that, because we talked with her a little bit about it.
Yeah, we have a good episode on that specifically.
Yeah,
but
then like you actually go to tell like neocons and neo-fascists like, okay, if you really want to stop this is what we need to do. And for exactly what the comment in the chat just said, they talk about is it's actually caring about them, and they bail the fuck out. That is 1,000% correct, because they don't actually care. It's all about
it's all about obstructionism.
Correct.
It's all about I've seen it used.
It's a more advanced whataboutism if you really stop and think about it, because they're like, Black Lives Matter.
What about children?
Yeah, what about children? And this is happening right now in your backyard.
In the past week, I've seen it used for discrediting the LGBTQ community, I've seen it used for being against wearing a mask in public.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've seen that used in multiple different ways where they're like, you can't tell if a child is being sex trafficked if they're wearing a mask. So I'm not wearing a mask because I'm a fucking adult. You know, I don't understand what their point is, but it's like, you know, and I've seen it said like, oh, you guys care about COVID. Well, I care about sex trafficked children. We're not the same. Or, you know, and it's just like, it's just the right wing's new homeless veterans, where anytime you bring up like a real systemic problem, like we should have universal health care. How could we afford that when there's homeless veterans in the street? And then that's all that these like sex trafficking things have become, where it's like, yeah, we should like try to get a handle on COVID. What about all these sex trafficked kids? And it's like, sex trafficking didn't start this year. Why didn't you care about this for decades?
Yeah.
Why didn't you fight against like SESTA and FOSTA and these like bills that made sex trafficking worse? You know, these puritanical bills. Why don't you try to like legalize sex work to get that out of the black market so that kids are less likely to be, you know, involved in sex trafficking, or when people involved in the industry are actually able to go to the authorities to report these kinds of things. Like, there are legitimate things we can do to combat sex trafficking.
Yeah.
I've not seen any of these Save the Children people bring up a single like policy position.
No.
Not a once.
I've seen it described as like virtue signaling at its peak. It's like, it's this thing that you're like, you're shooting off a signal flare about, but attached to that signal flare is a flag saying like, I don't actually care.
No,
I just
they're so good at like fucking projecting too, because they constantly try to claim that it's like left wingers are always virtue signaling, and it's like, fuck, dude, if you projected any fucking harder, you'd see it on the moon. Because it's like, you guys are virtue signaling to the absolute max, you know, where it's like you're picking like something that's indisputably a tragedy, like sex trafficking, especially of children, is of course fucking awful, but those things are so unrelated. Like the fact that like we mishandled our COVID response to such a astonishing degree has nothing to do with sex trafficked children. No.
And now their new like counter argument is, well, 1.4% deaths isn't really that bad. And
no,
it's like,
I've seen an article, I think like Ron Emanuel actually, where it literally got to the point of like, I think they said something like, I don't know what the exact number is. Something like maybe 3 million like Americans just die every year of just like, that's just the average amount of people that die every year. I don't know if that's the correct number, but it was basically saying, as long as less than that die of COVID, it's a win. This is why people say that fascism is a death cult, because it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Because it is literally counterproductive to itself.
Right.
Like it will eventually eat itself, even if it's something as simple as just like downplaying the existence of germs to the point that it kills hundreds of thousands of people.
Let's see. It's the hallmark of I'm losing the argument. Oh, 1,000%. And this is something we've talked about many a time before, where it's like you could bring all the facts and figures and actual policy you want. Like like even though they talk about how facts don't care about our feelings, and it's like, okay,
No.
it's like you want to stop child sex trafficking. Well, then let's figure out a way to stop soft drops at amusement parks, for instance. You know,
or you know,
and it's like, but then they're like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. And it's
I'm talking about Pizzagate.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, there's a shirt at Target, a kid's shirt that has a slice of pizza on it. It's Pizzagate. It's like,
it's that goddamn rat Chuck E. Cheese.
You guys are fucking maniacs. But
it blends into it too, because like, let's see here. How was I going to word this? Oh, there's so many thoughts that go through my head about
like,
the shit, and it breaks my train of thought.
But they found like Lilo and Stitch, where like it was edited to be like a box of pizza in a scene somewhere, and they're like, that's it, that's Pizzagate. And it's just like, do you think like the fucking deep state is like a highlights magazine that like hides clues around so you guys can string it together? When it's like, why would I put this in like popular media, like a clue to the fact that I'm running a secret child sex slavery ring?
There was an interesting set of tweets from like Pam, I think it was, who's the porn star? Is it Pam Anderson?
She's not a porn star.
No.
Jenna Jameson?
Jenna Jameson, thank you.
Yeah.
Where she tweeted about, she was talking about the Maxwell thing, and she's like, if you think, just for what you said earlier, it's like, if you think this is not like the end all solution here, she's like, if you think this is like where all the circles of pedophilia intersect and like this is the linchpin that's going to make it all come down. She's like, you're crazy. She's like, I've been in Hollywood for years and like this isn't even the tip of the perverseness. And it's like, and everybody's writing her off like, oh, you're just whatever. And like that's like when they like call like Stormy Daniels, like even the left does this too when they're like, oh, you paid off a porn star. It's like, no, you are diluting the actual problem here. The problem isn't the fact that she was a porn star. The problem is the fact that he paid hush money out of his campaign to influence the election. It's like, so those boiled down statements actually hurt in a way.
I hate a lot of these like feckless libs who like attack Donald Trump for like Melania having been like posing nude for magazines and stuff. It's a bunch of fucking swerfs who are just like discrediting her for being like a sex worker or whatever. And it's like there's 1.5 million legitimate things that we can criticize Trump for. Like the fact that his wife posed nude in magazines, like I could give two shits about that. The fact that Stormy Daniels is a porn star, I could give two shits about that. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it just is it obfuscates? Is that the word?
Yeah,
obfuscates the issue. So I'm gonna read a comment here. The conspiracy shit is out of hand because people aren't focused on actual issues. They're just looking for the anomaly that confirms their beliefs. That is 1,000% correct, and that's kind of what we talk about. And like when you give them something, it's like you care about pedophilia. Okay, here's the actual child sex ring. Let's take it down. And then just like he said, no, Pizzagate. We gotta go check out Buffalo Wild Wings on 4th.
Let's not abolish ICE. Let's go after Pizzagate.
And then and it's never about the evidence. And I talked to a conservative guy one time. He was talking about LGBT, and he said something along the lines of like, why are all the gay people in the Democratic Party? And he's like, why aren't there gay Republicans? And I said, well, there are. They're just closeted. And then he's like, and then like he was trying to make it like this big gotcha moment. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the logic that goes through their head. And it's like, he's like, would you teach your kids that being gay is okay? And I was like, 1,000%, because there's not a problem here. Yeah. And I can explain to you biologically why this isn't a thing. And they don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, the Change My Mind crew. It's Steven Crowder's grift is the easiest shit. You go to a place where you think that there's going to be a bunch of like libs, and then you just like you come fully prepared, and then you edit the footage to make them look unreasonable.
His shtick is the same that Shapiro does, Carlson does, Hannity does. He tries to find people that don't actually know how to. I used to say don't know what they're talking about, but now I think it's more of a they don't want to articulate. Correct. That's exactly what I was going to go to. Because like these people know, it's just like me literally 20 seconds ago. Like I know what I want to say, I just don't know how to articulate it.
Yeah, but then you show up with a binder and you have like all of your stuff that you're going to talk about. All right, we're coming up to the break. Is that my dog?
Quick break. I do not hear the dog. So, Toaster, I'll just let you know we do record these in 30-minute segments that we release as an audio podcast for people to listen to. So if you like what you hear and you want to catch earlier episodes and or the beginning of what we started here a couple hours ago, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Sour Source. You just look for us. Sometimes I've been informed that it can be hard to find. We're working on that issue. I think it's a tags issue, trying to get us in the right category. But yeah, just look us up on Sour Source. These videos also, dang son, these videos also go to YouTube as well, which I'm more of the audio guy myself. Mostly because, we're just, at the moment, we're just straight on live stream, camera and two guys talking and drinking beer and or hard cider.
But, yeah. It was funny because, like, I try to keep my kind of pulse on, like, what's going on in sort of, like, conservative circles. Uh-huh. And it's funny how they'll, like, talk about, like, how it's a big conspiracy that, like, right-wingers keep getting fact-checked. And it's like oh man, I wonder why. That's weird. That's really weird. It's a mystery.
This will be a YouTube exclusive or live stream exclusive bit. So I got into a big argument with a guy early on in Trump's presidency, because he was, I about said pregnancy.
Early in Trump's pregnancy.
Too many ciders. We were talking about North Korea. It was during the time when Kim Jong-un was meeting with Donald Trump, and he was asking me my critique about it. And I was like, usually in foreign negotiations, you save the two heads of states meeting for last to like finalize an agreement. Like you don't start there. But I am also not necessarily against.
It's one of the few things I think that he's done that was good. It was at least trying to like handle it diplomatically.
And then he was like, he's like, here's the thing. The point about this is that he's like, here's the thing. Donald Trump has been harder on North Korea than Obama ever was. And I was like, well, I mean, as of right now, that's not true. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, Obama cut all funding and aid to North Korea at the end of his presidency.
And Trump was saying that they were in love.
and I was like, and Trump returned the aid. Now, this is not a critique on like whether or not like we should try to feed some of their starving people. That has nothing to do with that. I'm just, I was using it as a point like, hey, like your conception of reality may not be what you think it is.
Well,
and then he's like, that's not true. And I was like, no, look, I can show you. I showed him the report that confirms that, and he goes, his immediate response wasn't, oh, let me look at that and let me see what you're saying. It was, are you calling me a liar?
Well,
and I was like, oh boy.
Well, that's because and this isn't unique to the right, because like centrist Dems will do the same thing. They have a position,
aren't they the right
and they centrist Dems are the right essentially. But they have a position that they start with and have to work towards. So Trump supporter wakes up in the morning and is like, Trump good, Democrat bad. And so no matter what he does, he's good. So even when it got down to silly shit, like, talking about putting bleach inside of your body, you had all of these fucking Republican talking heads come out, and they were like, even like Ben Shapiro was like, that's like not what he meant. He was thinking out loud, blah, 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 all these guys. And then Trump later goes, I was being sarcastic. So it was like you had all these people rush to his defense to talk about like what he actually meant. And then he comes out and he's like, I was being sarcastic.
Yeah.
And then Trump also goes like, I was being sarcastic, but maybe it could work.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you weren't being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But it's like, but they have to jump through circles to like, okay, like, well, of course Donald Trump is always right. So if he said something stupid, there has to be a reason for it. And so they work backwards from their conclusions.
Correct. They find the point where, I guess it's the opposite. They find the point where they want to be, and then they make it fit, just like you said on there in the chat. Whereas we actively acknowledge, like in the last one, we joked about our new slogan should be, I don't know about that. Like, because we, we willfully acknowledge what we don't know.
Yeah.
And
I try not to take positions on things that I don't talk about. That's why, or things I don't know about.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't really cover like the Hong Kong protests, because I didn't know a whole lot about them. His words have to be interpreted like genre. No, that's 100% it. The guy who wrote Dilbert or whatever is the guy who coined the whole like Trump's playing 3D chess thing, where it's like, no, you don't understand that when he does something that's completely like stupid, it's because he's like he's thinking 5 moves ahead of the Democrats, man. But
I'm gonna take a quick second before we record anymore. We can keep going for sure. I want to send this to the email because we should react to this, or we can save it. It's up to you.
When did you want to do this again? If you wanted to do it a couple of days, we could do that. But if you wanted to wait till next Sunday, it might be better to get it out of the way now. Trump secretly Carlos the Jackal. I actually don't get that reference.
Let me see. What is it? I don't know that one either.
If you'd be so kind as to explain it to me. But no, it's funny because it's like, why are all these right wingers getting fact checked more than Democrats? And it's like, I wonder. It's a fucking mystery. I wonder why academia is so largely left leaning. It's a mystery, all right. I wonder why people who watch Fox News know less about current events than people who don't watch news at all. It's a mystery. Who knows? Who knows why these things happen?
I did want to bring something up, and I can save this for the recorded bit because I would like to I think we should do one more quick segment here. Carlos the Jackal is a French-German biographical film about the life of Venezuelan terrorist Carlos the Jackal. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, he put that on the chat too. Carlos Jackal was a
sorry.
freelance terrorist.
We have multiple screens that we see this on because we have the main channel and the things that we react to on our main screen, and I use my laptop for the actually managing everything that happens there.
Okay. Did you want to do one more recorded section, or what are you thinking?
We can, man, I want to, but I also know that you have to work tomorrow.
It is getting a little later on in the day. I mean, we could just keep the live stream going for a little bit longer if you'd rather do that.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about this and that before we go. You
Sure.
know, number one, we'll say this. We try to do these as of right now because we're both working class people. We try to do these every Sunday, more or less. Typically around 7 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
And like I said, we do have a YouTube channel. We do the audio version. So number one, I would like to say we do appreciate you chatting us up today.
I wish more people would get into the chats.
Some of it might also be tagging and making sure that we're in the right.
Yeah, sometimes we
category,
just wing it.
Yeah, most of the time we just ring it. But like I said, we do have the audio podcast. If you did like and join us, give us a listen, download the episodes, and if you like it a lot, share it with your friends. I think we have a nice spin on it because we're on the ground. We're on the ground level of things. Like we react to things in real time as they happen. And
and I don't think any of us are big like intellectuals, like to the point that like we're not scholars or part of academia.
No, and this is actually I did want to talk about this a little bit, 'cause talking about that. So
Sure.
do you know who Brett Weinstein is?
Sounds familiar.
I think he was the guy who got in trouble. He was the Evergreen College guy. Like they were doing like some kind of protest walkout, and he lost his job because of it, and because he was like, I don't believe in that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of in Rogan's like, intellectual dark web guy.
Fucking circle jerk.
Yeah. Let me see here. I'm going to read this real quick. I think it was like they organized a day at his college where he taught. He's a college professor. Where like I think they like the colored I don't like saying that. People of color would come to class, but the white people would stay away.
Okay.
And he opposed that, and then it caused a lawsuit to happen, like, free speech deal. And I don't think he teaches out there anymore. Mm-hmm. But long story short, he has a podcast called Dark Horse Podcast. And him and his wife or his fiance are on there, and they were talking about like Portland and whatnot. And they did like a dissection on the book How to Be Anti-Racist and some of the ideas that Ibram
is this the
Kendi,
white fragility?
No, they talked a little bit about that, but this isn't a book in the similar vein, and I haven't read it myself. But he had talked about it's all based in the idea. It's where the idea that like being anti-racist is more important than being just against racism. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah,
and talking about intellectuals and. I wanted to do a takedown eventually of this podcast because there's some interesting bits in there that I feel like more progressive people should react to. But like during the whole podcast, him and his wife were talking about different topics in the book, and I was like, what exactly are you arguing? Like you just said, like, talking about intellectuals, like you just argued this logical path, but you countered your own logic 10 minutes later.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because right-wingers will do that a lot. There's a famous Ben Shapiro video about that where it's like how to debate leftists.
Oh yeah.
And literally every one of his steps is something that he does. He's like, leftists will try to do this thing, so you just got to do this thing, and it's the same thing. And it's just like everything that he's accused leftists of doing is the same thing that he employs in his arguments all the time. Again, it's just projection.
They have nothing. Like they talked about like the Portland riots, and they use that right-wing talking point about how all the protests are riots. It's definitely not peaceful, and it's like, but you never they would argue like if the protests would go away, it would be peaceful, and it's like, okay, well that's like true, but like why are the protesters the ones that have to come to the table? Like they're literally saying this is our demand, right? And the city council is not offering anything. It's like, well, how come nobody ever reverses that?
It's funny. Did you watch the DNC at all? Like the convention?
Everybody in my life has asked me this. I actually avoided it because I already knew what it was going to be.
I wanted to bring up, though, a few things. Did you see maybe screenshots of Elizabeth Warren? how she was talking from like a classroom, and in the background there was like blocks arranged to say BLM, where it's just like it's the most performative shit that I've ever seen, because it's like she is not. BLM has a pretty cogent agenda of things that they want to see done, and you are not arguing for any of them, so you can't just like put BLM in the background of your stream and think that actually means anything.
Oh, that actually reminds me. That's like one of the things that they talked about on that podcast, him and his wife, because they're both doctors. They both have doctorates in biology, which doesn't mean anything to me because Michael Savage also has a doctorate in biology.
Yeah, Ben Carson's a doctor.
Exactly.
You know, that crazy demon sperm lady is a doctor.
Yep. So a lot of people, because in one political writing that I did for the local newspaper, I had said that we need more people who aren't doctors, lawyers, or what did I say, or politicians in the government. And then they're like, well, why doctor was there, like why doctor? I get lawyer and the other two. And I was like, because it doesn't mean anything. It's like
you could be very intelligent in one singular aspect,
still believe in demon sperm. It's like but anyways, they had talked about like the different, they're like, people need to understand when you're saying hashtag Black Lives Matter, are you supporting the phrase or the organization? These are two different things. And I was just like it was just one of those things. It's like, what are you actually trying to argue?
It's like, but these
here?
things are inextricably linked, though.
Right.
You can't be like, and it's the same thing about like the save our children.
Yeah.
You can't just say that, like, I support the phrase. Obviously I support the phrase. What do you support, like, as far as policy positions go? So Black Lives Matter, you can say it, but like, what do you actually mean by it? Otherwise it's a hollow, empty slogan if you don't actually propose any sorts of change, any sorts of like systemic change. And another thing, did you hear about sort of like the thing that happened with AOC? How she
the 1 minute
where
she nominated Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about this last week. I did see that. Do you know how fast? Because I caught this on my immediate news article. This is what the mainstream media tries to do. Do you know how fast MSNBC wrote a hit piece on her about that nomination?
Immediately, and
7 minutes.
Yeah.
From when it happened. Because
And the funny thing is that it's not even controversial, because Tulsi Gabbard did the same thing in 2016. She nominated Bernie Sanders. It's just the protocol of the convention. When you have a certain amount of delegates, you have to get nominated. But the more telling story was that like Bernie Sanders had come out and talked about the fact that like AOC wasn't even invited to speak at the conference. John Kasich got an hour of speaking time, and the controversy was like AOC had only gotten a minute and he'd gotten an hour. Like, we see who the Democrats are trying to court. In actuality, AOC didn't get any time. She was invited by Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was able to pick two speakers, and he picked AOC to speak for a minute. The DNC didn't even invite her at all. So like, we know
they didn't invite Tulsi either.
Yeah.
The tradition, the long-standing tradition has always been, if you get delegates, you get invited, and they didn't invite her either.
Tulsi is, I don't know where I stand with her anymore.
Tulsi really did, man. She really, God, I don't even know. She
stands for Bernie Sanders. That's gets her a few points in my book. But she also voted present at the impeachment, which,
I don't want to take a side. Come on.
Like, he should have been impeached. Like, it. But so Tulsi's a strange figure.
It's her political moves are very strange too, because she's not running again. She is basically retired now because somebody else won her primary. Obviously, she's decided she didn't want to run, so I don't know what's going on there, what her future political plans are, but
she's gonna pivot to the right,
probably.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm predicting another like party switch, because we're having sort of about like the Lincoln Project, right?
Yes.
The Lincoln Project is an organization made up of ex like Bush staffers.
Yep.
Like these ex like Republicans.
The Lincoln Party is pushing a Democratic Party that is the same as 1990.
Yeah,
Republican
exactly.
Party.
So it's like they're infiltrating the left wing, and they're making all of these effective attack ads against Donald Trump, because Democrats are terrible at playing dirty politics.
Dude, this is the
so
if you're still here, Toaster, this is one of the things I've talked about in a few past podcasts about like a left-wing tone change. Like the centrists and moderates don't play politics well, and I don't think progressives do either.
Bernie Sanders played it so poorly.
Yes, and a lot of it
because it's taking the high road.
A lot of it, yeah, exactly. A lot of it comes from the ability to lobby and attack. And like a lot of people like criticize Bernie after the debate with Joe Biden. It's like you let him walk all over you and you didn't attack him like it on the things you should have. And Bernie's rationale after the fact was like, "Oh, I didn't want to attack my friend." And it's like an attack on your record is not an attack on your friend. Like these are factual things that have happened in the past.
Yeah. Same thing when he was asked, do you think that Joe Biden could beat Donald Trump? And he was like, oh, of course he could. Mm-hmm. So you don't say that about your opponent, man.
And so this is why I have come to the final conclusion where I've talked about like, I think we said it at the very beginning of this episode, which you probably weren't here for. Defeating the fascists in the neoconservative, neo-fascist Republican Party at the moment takes priority to fighting the establishment, because as a progressive or a leftist or left-leaning person beyond like your standard moderate liberal or neoliberal, however you want to frame it, fighting 1v2 as a progressive leftist in the United States is astronomically more difficult than defeating one party, which is what he said earlier about infiltrating the party DNC. And just, morphing it from your side. And we didn't get where we wanted today. And I think one of the follies of progressive leftism in the United States is we are really quick to be like, oh, it's all over. It's done. There's no hope.
Yeah. And that's but I there's no way to know for sure what the right way to do things is, because I'm hearing it from progressives where they're saying if we just continue to give the Democrats our votes without showing them that we are
incapable of voting.
Yeah, that we are capable of not voting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well,
but then
do you just wipe your hands of both parties, even the one that is potentially sympathetic?
Do you think this is a fun one? Do you think that in 2016 that's what should have happened? Like all the progressives shouldn't, abstain their vote.
Given hindsight is 2020, and that Hillary lost anyway. We know that it wouldn't have mattered. Like Hillary was going to lose.
Right.
Yeah, we should have played that differently.
See, I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, we're kind of using a solution that's 4 years too late, because now we're in a situation where
we're looking down the barrel of a fucking gun.
The most positive outcome is we return to an Obama presidency, and it's like that shouldn't be the pinnacle of politics.
That's not the.
So, and that kind of maybe that shot us in the foot. What I'm trying to rationalize here, maybe that shot us in the foot in 2020, because that maybe in Bernie's mind, I don't know,
that the time to abstain would have been last election, and now it's too late. Now we have to
defeat the fascists before we can institute leftist policies in the United States.
I'm not sure, man.
Food for thought.
I'm voting green though.
I probably will.
Kansas is not going blue. You kidding me?
Not.
Of course it's not.
It's
so
not.
To throw your vote away, that's really throwing your vote away. Voting for a fucking Democrat in the middle of a red state.
I've seen some leftist Facebook pages and stuff who have kind of come to the conclusion that we have, where they're like, if you live in a swing state, you absolutely have to vote for Joe Biden. Please do not vote green.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of them take flack for it too, and it's like, you guys got to understand, we are playing. I've used this phrase for Bernie and the fact that he was unable to attack Joe Biden during the primary. You don't have to like the game, but you still have to play by the rules.
I'm seeing so many progressives being just blackpilled who are just like, fuck it, we're done. Wipe my hands of this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just letting the fascists win.
Yeah. So it's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah.
In the country right now to believe in human decency.
I think we do need to break the sort of false dichotomy that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the same, or that they're it doesn't matter which one wins, because that's not true. Donald Trump is horrible.
Donald Trump is awful. I think if you put it on a scale, what we're really arguing in this election, and this is maybe why progressives are so averse to throwing their vote to Joe Biden, especially in swing states. Like, is it a situation where we have to put neoliberalism and neo-fascism on the same pedestal and decide which one gets to stay? Because from like a leftist perspective, they're both awful.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but what is objectively the better of the two? You know, do you
of course
reinstill the neoliberalism and then try to or do you let neo-fascism win, where you know your policies even
have like a snowball's chance in hell? I think, fuck if I know, man. I don't know all the answers. All I know is that the country will be in a better position with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But that is not to say that Joe Biden is acceptable, because he's not. He is beyond the pale. He is too far gone. But the fact that he's up against literally just the worst person.
Maybe a good metaphor would be like, you have a giant gash bleeding out of your leg. Do you, even though you can't get stitches or surgery, do you affix a Band-Aid on it in hopes you can make it to the hospital, or do you just let it bleed out because you've defeated yourself?
Yeah. That's. Yeah. Do you just give into the gloom and just like
gloom and doom,
become black-pilled, man? I don't know.
Fun,
something to think about.
Yeah, fun thoughts. Fun. Goddamn.
I think that's a good place to.
Yeah,
to
that's
end
a good place to end. I can't even finish that statement.
Alrighty. We'll catch you guys.
This will be
next time.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if anybody's still around, we try to do these on Sundays.
I appreciate the chat for sure.
Absolutely. If you're still here, I appreciate everything, because, like I said, we do audio podcasts. We love it. Download them, share them with your friends. I think I have for the first time ever, I have re-listened to one of our podcasts, because I like to set them, done, and go. We actually have a pretty good podcast for exactly what the final comment in the chat is it's just a calm discourse, and the ability to discuss.
Some are less calm than others.
Yeah, so,
I think at the height of like the George Floyd protest, I was very angry.
Yeah.
That podcast, I yell a lot.
Yeah.
And I curse a lot. I'm cursing every other word in that podcast because I'm just really
I have
fucking.
been applauded for my ability to prevent my cursing.
Yeah.
From coming through.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, but hey, yeah, we try to do them every Sunday, typically about 7-ish Central Time. So we live in the Midwest, and thanks for joining in with us today, and we'll be back next week with some more hilarity and more ridiculousness to discuss.
All right. Good stream.
Have a good night, guys.